Welcome to Revelation Now podcast. It's good to be back. Today we're going to talk about dreams and visions in connection with end times, the last days. Actually, we're going to begin talking about it, probably go on for a couple more. This is a big subject. As you know, we have been talking about the question, how the supernatural belief in it has increased, not decreased, it's increased. And I've been asking the question, angels, aliens, UFOs, or demons, what gives? Kind of like a starting point on it. This stuff isn't going away. But hey, I'm your host. The most. Jeff Wilson. And that is Tyler to my left right there.
I'm to his left.
And Jason's right here too.
Hello, everybody.
On the right hand of the host.
Yeah. Well, I just started talking right there. I forgot to even say, here we are. And it's that season too as well. It's past the season. October 31st was the harvest party for the harvest and Halloween, and was my birthday. It was. And now we are past it. Was that all yesterday? No, that was Tuesday was the day. So we're moving on. Scripturally, we already know, we're just talking with Tyler about it. Dreams are recorded throughout the scriptures. We got the two Josephs who experienced it, the one in the Old and one in the New. We know in the Old Testament, it was a big game changer for Joseph. Just when he was a young man, God gave him dreams, actual dreams, that he knew it was more than just typical, because he started sharing it with his folks, and his brothers got mad. Even his dad got a little concerned. Like, what kind of dreams are these?
Yeah.
We're going to bow down to you? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you saw in your dreams? But it held him fast. It held him when stuff started happening, the trouble came.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, something was trying to take him out. But he held on to those dreams. He knew there was a destiny. So there was direction in the dreams. Probably the same with the New Testament, right?
Yeah, without Joseph. Twice.
Yeah.
Twice it says the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream. And both times it was a direction. Get up. Get out of here. Go do this. Go do that.
I wonder how that works. An angel actually appearing in his dream.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was...
Because it's very specific.
Very specific.
Like how to get in there.
Yeah. Like, was he talking in his ear?
You come in his brain?
Yeah. Is it... I mean...
there was some sort of influence that
It's like a inception.
Yeah, like he knew it was more...
totally
when
is.
people have these dreams, they know that it's more than just... we all dream and run through the day and that kind of thing and chill and... What do you call it? Like filtering out the day through the dreams in the REM. But these are touched. There's something to it.
Yeah.
With the dreams and the vision. I mean, that's major direction. You wonder why it's that way. Why doesn't the angel just appear while he's awake?
I don't know.
It's true. Because
he does, right?
He does.
Sure, he does.
Other times.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's more the reason of us or him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because we knew the angel appeared to Mary when she was awake.
How you're going to receive
her
it.
direction.
I mean, that's a pretty intense dream. You're going to uproot your life and
Yeah.
leave,
well,
leave town.
One is the first one with Joseph, Jesus' father, Joseph, earthly father, is get up because Herod's going to kill all these kids.
Yeah.
And the second one is, all right, Herod's dead. Now get to where you're meant to be.
And that's a journey.
Yeah,
To go
absolutely.
down to
Israel.
And there's another
From
one. Is it Pilate's wife?
She got dreams. Like, yeah, don't
About
have
Jesus.
nothing to do with this dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
It says it scared
That could have
him.
just been her
Yeah.
own conscience, too.
It scared him, though. Her
Yeah.
telling
Scared,
him
yeah.
he had a dream.
Yeah, I said he went back out there. Who are you?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
what's up? What's going on here? Who are you really?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. My wife usually doesn't act this way or something. But again, that's that deal. We know something special there.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've had dreams over the years that have helped me, been touching. I've had the nightmares too.
Right.
And I've had what they call the pizza dreams, where they're just nutty,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. But they know, and we'll talk. We're going to have a guest next week. Sister Wilson will be talking about dreams. She's studied it for years on it. Had just great insight on that. But they figured out a lot just in psychiatry. They figured out a whole lot about dreaming.
Yeah.
Its meanings, the symbolism, the purpose of it. I mean, the health part of it, sleep. Though I just read an article a while back, they said they still kind of don't understand it.
Yeah.
There's still a mystery to it, the whole having to sleep.
Well, I think the
deal.
human mind, in general, is just always going to be a mystery there.
Like we have to have a shutdown every day at a certain time, you know?
Right.
It's 1/3 of your life
Well, you
is
were,
spent in this dream or in this sleep state.
yeah, you were talking earlier too about why in a dream? Why not just show up?
Yeah.
And I think, and Jason and I have been talking about this a lot, just off and on. I think it's just how God's going to have to communicate with certain people.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've got friends and I've got people on my heart that there's just so much baggage, walls up, hurt in their past,
Mm-hmm.
that I don't see some of them just walking into the doors of a church. They're going to maybe need a kind of a Damascus Road kind of moment.
Kind of a spirit to spirit.
Some sort of like spirit to spirit, like a revelation where God's going to have to reveal himself in a different way.
Yeah, and you're not as resisting while awake. You're resisting more so awake. It happened to Solomon. I just thought of that. When he was asleep.
Yeah, he had a huge one.
I mean, God said, "What do you want?"
They had a whole contract.
Like he wanted it, like he
Serious.
wanted it to come from his heart, not just something in his head.
My question is, where is it?
And he did the right thing.
Where are you?
The subconscious. I think it's the reality of the spirit realm.
Well, it's
If
funny,
man is a spirit,
but I've been a detractor of the multiverse
yeah.
Yeah.
lately.
We've thrown some shade at the
But you-
multiverse.
I certainly have, but
But there is the dichotomy.
I actually
flesh,
do
spirit.
believe in a certain level of it. There's different spaces. There's different.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, you could go.
So in the dream state, God said, "You didn't ask for wealth, but out of your heart said, help me to lead these people. Give me the wisdom to lead
Yeah.
your people." And he said, "Now I'm going to give you both.
Yeah.
I can trust you." It's kind of a trust deal. So there's a testing of the heart, and there are scriptures that talk about that, where God tests the heart with that. And then there's the communique for direction. And then I think it's just a health thing. God knows. He designed it. I mean, the whole thing of sleeping.
Well, I think I would say there's something different because I talked about this. I spoke 2 weeks ago or something like that, and I talked about an experience I had with the dream, and it's actually how I came to faith. And I think there's something that happens on the inside of a dream that's even more personal than just like we were talking about Joseph. Why did the angel just show up?
Mm-hmm.
There's something on the inside. It's literally your inner universe.
Yeah.
It's super personal.
Yeah.
And for me, like you were talking about people we know who are just, they're not going to come to faith by just reason or good example or good works or a whole lot of things. For me, that's how I felt I was. I felt like I had a wall up.
Yeah.
toward things of faith, and I had a really intense dream, and
What was that dream?
well, in
How'd
my
it go?
dream, this is a dream, okay? Well, it could be.
It's okay if it's more than
Don't.
Well, it's just easier to process if I just say it's
Yeah.
a dream.
Sure.
that. But let me say this: you felt it.
Yes.
You sensed it.
I have dreams all the time.
It's kind of like a lucid type thing.
Yeah, there's something like you're saying, the dream,
When you know it's
something
touched.
else happened
Yes,
there in that experience. And so in the dream, I was, this was after a long period of kind of going away from faith and Christianity, and which I was perfectly fine with. And I was actually felt really free
Yeah.
from that. But I went, I had, in my dream, I laid down on my bed and I was like kind of meditating, and I left my body. My spirit left my body, and I went up into some other kind of space. It was just dark. I couldn't really see anything, and but I knew I wasn't in my body anymore. I had come out of my body. So it's kind of like an out-of-body experience, you know. And at first, I was like kind of excited, like, wow, this is really cool. And then it really freaked me out. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm out of my body.
Wait a minute.
And
Yeah.
because it was a different environment. That's all I know how to explain it. It would be like being underwater. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
You're out of your element.
You're in some other element, you know.
Oh, that's a good way to say it.
So it's dark and it's kind of atmospheric. I don't know. I couldn't really see anything, but then I realized I wasn't alone in this space. There was something else there, and I couldn't really see anything, but I knew it was there. And the only way I know how to describe that is it felt like if you were in the ocean, like out in the middle of the ocean on a cruise ship or something, and you jump in the water. First of all, you're just in the ocean, right? The big giant ocean. That freaks me out, just being in the ocean.
It's my biggest fear,
You know,
open water.
Just huge. You know, that's what it felt like. You're exposed to this other space. And then if you felt suddenly you weren't alone in the water.
Yeah, what's
There's
here?
a big thing in there with you, probably, you know, shark or whatever, you know. And that's what it felt like in my gut. Like, even when I talk about it, that's what I feel, like that kind of fear. That's like a primal fear, I think. Even in children.
That's true.
It's really deep, that fear of something in the water with you. That's what it was.
Survival instinct.
Yeah. And then something else.
Spiritual survival.
Yeah, so I was like terrified, and then something else showed up, and it was just like a sphere type shape, and I don't really know how to explain it. It was weird. But then it like asked me questions, but like not verbally. It's like a dream, so it's like telepathically. It's like
I hear
talking
that
to
a
you.
lot with these visions.
Yeah, it wasn't a voice, but it was definitely like
A communication.
communicating
Right.
to me, but not with a voice. And it just asked me questions about Jesus, and it was, do you believe Jesus is the Son of God? I said yes. And do you believe Jesus died and rose again? I said yes. Do you believe Jesus is the Messiah? I said yes. And then I woke up, and so that was it. That was the whole dream. But it was like, it sounds so silly to me even saying it, but there was something on it where I knew I had just had some kind of other experience. That's what I mean by like why dreams, because it's on the inside. There's something extra personal about it. And there was something about that for me that was like, it was like a wake up. It was like a wake up call on the inside, and in terms of things of faith and the reality of it, the reality of evil, the reality of the one thing I felt immediately, because there were a bunch of like just impressions of the whole thing, like psychologically.
Yeah.
One of them was just there are bigger things at play than just how you feel about it.
That was really good. When you spoke Sunday, that stood out to me. The cosmic battle,
yes,
that's going on around us is so much more real.
That was almost the main part of it. It was like I felt like God was saying, like, I know you're confused and doing your best, but there's bigger stuff going on here that is out of your control. That's totally how I felt. Like, this is out of my league, and you're there are bigger things over you that you can't control, man. Like, you want to get over here on this side. I know it doesn't make sense, but
But that
over
helps us
here.
to process it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have processed it just being awake.
I don't think so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you already weren't.
Yeah.
You already were at a place where there was confusion and
Because there's a certain level of, like just rationale and your own pain, your own hurt.
I was going to say, it's almost like you had your little mini book of Job.
Yeah,
moments.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because what happens to Job when the experience actually happens? He's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wrong. Because that's basically what Job is to me, is God saying, hey, there's bigger things at play, Job. You don't understand what you're talking about here.
Were you there?
And then he asked him a bunch of questions to show.
Yeah.
Yes, it was very much like
You know,
that.
it's very much trust me with what I am showing you.
Yes.
Too.
Interesting to me too, Jason, is you talked about different spaces, for lack of a better phrase. Like, it was a dream for sure, but you also said that you were meditating.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of is interesting to me as well, because I think meditation, you're kind of placing yourself
That was what I was
in a different.
at that time. I was that was a part of something I was practicing to get into a space mentally, and
it seemed to have worked.
it did.
Yeah.
It did. And that's why at first I was excited. Like, oh, cool! I did what I've been trying to do.
Yeah.
And then the other side came into play. That's why we're talking angels, aliens, UFOs, that type of stuff. It's not necessarily personally, like for me, like I've said, the whole alien UFO thing. It could be, but I see it more as like the scriptures talk about, not wrestling against flesh and blood, but against this other realm of entities that are demonic. And they definitely are. I mean, if we look at Corinthians, where Paul said, the God of this world, small g God, has blinded the minds.
Yeah.
Lest the glorious light of the gospel of Christ should shine. So there's some sort of thing trying to block our minds, from the reality of the truth.
Yeah.
But you had a breakthrough.
Yeah.
There was
and I think
something
it only came through because it was an inside job.
And it's same with Paul, happened with Paul. It's not like we can make these things happen, but they're there. It's
I don't think
real.
Paul was going to stop without that.
I know
Right. That's what we were saying earlier. So it's going to
because he thought he was on the right path.
It's going to take
And
something
so did
extra.
So did I. My intentions were good.
Yeah, he thought
like
he was
I was
doing
getting
the
my
right
life together. I was doing well.
But isn't that isn't that the heart of God? I mean, do whatever He can to reach us.
Yeah.
And if you
what
think
I
of
think.
Luke 15, right? The three losts.
There's the prodigal in there.
Sheep, the
son.
coin, and the prodigal son. Yeah.
He had an awake moment. That's what I've tried to explain it before. Back in '84 of October, I had an experience. I was awake, but a moment of clarity. I've tried to explain this. Several times I've talked about it. Part of my testimony in coming to Christ, the Lord just helped me to see the reality of evil.
Is that what it was for you? Because
yes,
that what it
was.
That's
what was the proverb?
Yeah, Proverbs 16:25 came. There is a way that seems right to a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death.
Yeah.
You think this is cool, but it's not. It's going to eat your lunch.
And
I saw it, and I was like, I don't want that.
Yeah, that was one of the most
and he helped me to
shocking
get out.
parts of the whole experience. It was like realizing that this was real. Like the impression that evil,
the other thing is real.
Yes, there's real consequences. Like that can really happen.
Yeah.
You know, because we talk about this all the time, how it's always out of reach, it's always fuzzy, it's always blurry, and you can kind of stay in that, well, I don't know, state.
But you had a
forever.
clarity moment. You had something that broke even through that. That wasn't blurry.
Well, and obviously because...
And that wasn't blurry when I saw that.
And what Jason shared 2 weeks ago is that pretty much the second he came out of this meditation dream trance,
he started going in a different direction.
He called his folks and says, "Can I be baptized now?"
Yeah, it's a scared
like that was
deal, but it's good,
impacting.
And sometimes it doesn't work. Like, you know, if you just preached hell all the time, people could get scared straight for a moment, and they kind of lose that sensitivity. But these are different. I wasn't scared in the sense of like boo. It was deeper than that.
It's not
it was
just
like
scared,
a reality check.
It's sobering.
Yes, that's what I mean. Reality check.
Sobering, and that's the part where I know people do not like to talk about that. They don't like to talk about hell or any of that kind of stuff. It's like a faux pas. But there was something about that, like this didn't matter. the reality. You know?
What you both had is in the name of our podcast. In the Greek, it's apocalypsis.
Yeah.
You had a revelation. It literally was a revealing.
Yeah, for that
it was
moment,
an unveiling, a revealing, a revelation.
And I realized I had a choice, too. I realized I had a choice to keep going the way I was. It's the verse, you know, we talked about it. It's the goodness of God that leads you to repentance, to leads you to turn and to change. And when he does it, there's a revealing. There's an opening of some sort that happens. And you see, that's why I've known it. I know sometimes in talking with others, I can just tell they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We're kind of playing games here. We're talking about God or Christ. I can tell, you know, they don't want it.
But there's also a part where for me, because I was raised in church and like my experience over time, I don't even think I knew how to anymore. The gospel itself had become corrupted through my experience. So my filter was messed up. So it wasn't just that, I know what you're talking about and I'm rejecting it. I didn't know how to receive it anymore.
Yeah, you were rejecting what you thought was it.
Yeah, I was just confused, you know. You get confused in life, and I think, I don't know, something like that. It's almost like those sobering moments in history too, like 9/11 or something like that. Like suddenly you realize, oh my goodness,
I know
this is possible.
Once again, when a beloved celebrity passes, there's a moment there too, like Matthew Perry, and he talked about he had like one of those type of experiences, a God moment. I read his book. His memoir when it came out. I thought it was good. I like these recovery stories.
Yeah.
Rob Lowe and the different ones that...
Yeah.
Who's Iron Man?
Me.
Besides you?
Robert Downey Jr.
Yes, of course. You know, these guys have had moments of clarity to come out of, you know, the realm of being in bondage to substances and...
Well, I've had that.
That darkness, and... They've had a real wake up. Honestly.
Yeah, I can read it here. And so
this is Matthew Perry, right?
Matthew Perry, who he struggled with addiction heavily through most of his life, I think. But he had a spiritual experience here when he initially got sober. He says, I started to cry. I mean, I really started to cry. That shoulder-shaking kind of uncontrollable weeping. I wasn't crying because I was sad. I was crying because for the first time in my life, I felt okay. I felt safe, taken care of. Decades of struggling with God and wrestling with life and sadness. all was being washed away like a river of pain gone into oblivion. This was when he had just prayed. He said, God, please help me.
Yeah.
He said,
That's such a great prayer.
show me that you are here. God, please help me. That's what he prayed.
And he did.
And this is what he said. I had been in
the
presence of God. I was certain of it. And this time I had prayed for the right thing, help. Eventually the weeping subsided, but everything was different now. I stayed sober for 2 years based solely on that moment. God had shown me a sliver of what life could be. He'd saved me that day, and for all days, no matter what. He had turned me into a seeker, not only of sobriety and truth, but also of him.
Such a good dude, man, and with all our faults. Some faults go public, some don't. But everybody deals with life, these things. What the searching is, everybody's involved in that.
Yeah.
It really is there. And that's why I think we do have these moments of being touched and then having to choose. Because I just absolutely believe in the free will part. Because notice he didn't go forever.
Yep.
He went 2 years.
Yeah, and it doesn't last.
Yes, these things.
Although I'll say
dissipate.
about my dream, I've had obviously millions of dreams, but that one does stick with me, especially certain emotions part of it. The being in the ocean kind of deal.
That's why
I can still feel that in my gut.
And that's where Peter stood up, the Apostle Peter, and said, "This was spoken of." I want to. In Joel, that the Spirit would be poured out and your young men will dream dreams?
I think it's the opposite. Wait, isn't it? No, young men will see visions, right? Old men get dreams. I guess I'm old.
No, you could be. Let me look at it and find it. But it's in Acts where he began to preach. This was spoken of. Joel's only a few chapters. I think it's 3 chapters. And it's about... And it is about that.
Your sons and daughters will prophesy.
Yeah, we've got prophecies.
Your young men will see visions.
Yeah,
old men dreams. Yeah.
So but you have to understand, visions are also, it's tough because there's a thin line.
There's another great one in Acts 2 with Peter.
Because it kind of is a vision.
He's up on a rooftop meditating.
He went into a trance.
And it's the same thing, I would say, because mine was, it's right on that line.
Trance-ish.
Where I was in bed laying there, meditating and it seems like I just went to sleep and that's what happened, but maybe it was a vision. I don't know.
Yeah.
And Peter was laying down too.
Yeah.
Sounds like he was could have been sleeping or...
Bill Weiss, the 23 Minutes in Hell fellow, who he's having to spend the rest of his life
talking about it.
Yeah. Sometimes you can just feel the burden on him, like, I'm doing it, Lord. I'm obeying you.
Yeah. And honestly...
But he says he had a vision, but it was out of body.
Yeah.
It was real.
Yeah, that's different.
Even though it still was a vision, Brother Hagin talks about there's 3 kinds of visions. Lord dealt with him about that, and he could see there's like different levels. Like the 3rd level is the...
For real.
Yeah. You've left your...
That wasn't a dream.
No, yes.
Yep.
You've in vision form somehow you have experienced this. And it isn't out of body. Paul talked about it, whether in the body or out of the body, I don't know.
Yep.
One caught up into paradise, so he had another experience along that line as well. But we were talking about, in the last days, and we are in the last days. They actually started with the coming of Christ. Mm-hmm. The clock started ticking, you could say, then in last day prophecy. That's why we're very much aware of the Mideast right now and what's happening there on Rev Now. And there is an increase like never before. I mean, all you got to do is Google and Muslims seeing Jesus in vision and dreams. Mm-hmm. It's so much more prevalent. I'm surprised they don't talk about it more on the news, because how do you even talk about it?
Well, you get in trouble.
It's like...
That's true, too.
Yeah, these folk are seeing Jesus. And, I mean, it really is... A lot of it are in dreams. Like, you've gone to sleep.
Yeah.
they just this fellow Tom Doyle just wrote a book, Dreams and Visions. Is Jesus awakening the Muslim world?
Yeah.
It's happening so much so, and I guess if you've been, that's the love of God, the grace and mercy. You're totally in a situation where you don't know. You're being kept out of the light. You're being kept away from the gospel.
I mean, it's weird. I don't know why it doesn't happen for everybody.
But in a way,
these specific people
dreams do happen to all of us.
I mean, that specific experience.
I know what you're saying. The special kind of touch type deal.
That's extra.
The extra sauce on it.
But then you're also...
but we don't know everybody's story.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Where, like, I'm talking to somebody and, like, they know. Because somehow they must have had some sort of something happen inside of them.
Yeah.
To where they know what I'm saying. I don't know if they want it to be this way or, we're kind of having a conversation here on it. But, just the sleeping process, and we'll get into this next time we come together. Just the sleeping process, don't you love it when you've had good sleep?
Yes.
There's just something about it, right?
Yeah.
If you really had the whole shebang that's supposed to happen, the whole 8 hours and the whole going into this, if you really do it right, and if you wake up and it's like, wow, if it was a positive experience, then you can tell that there really is something to it.
Yeah.
There is a recharging type deal.
Yep, a refreshing. It's something that I'm noticing as I get older. It's almost more important than diet and exercise.
Yeah.
Like if I've had a good night's rest, I wake up and I usually, first thing in the morning, I'll do a little devotion or prayer,
wife,
and it's
Reggie.
so much better.
She's like a champion over the years.
Schedule.
She just works. She's a hard worker, man. And then when it's time to go to sleep, that's it. No more.
Well, I see it in my kids.
But then she gets up early. She's like early.
They're out.
It's a total meltdown.
Out running around.
Total meltdown. When it's time, they're past. It's gremlins.
Yeah. Who poured the water on the mogwai?
It's just like, they're done. Just they need to go to sleep.
It's time.
Yeah.
So we can even see the health part of it. Well, that's just that's a powerful testimony.
Yeah, and it's weird. I was telling you guys,
I know it's like what we were saying about these people who experience seeing things, the creatures.
Yeah,
the majority don't tell.
Yeah, they
know
don't
that
tell
for sure.
because I didn't even want to tell that, and that's just a dream,
blurry creatures.
But it was weird. It's people react weird, like, oh, you had a weird.
Crazy.
Yeah, totally. So I get why nobody wants to say anything.
But if you read the Book of Acts, it seems like it happened a lot.
Yeah, that's
the gifts of the Spirit, Holy Spirit being poured out. It wasn't just at the Acts 2. It's through the entire book.
Yeah, and I think there's something too about placing yourself in a different space and openness to receive something like that as well, if that makes sense at all. Like I was sharing with Jason yesterday, I had a moment that's not usually normal for me, where I was just in my office praying and listening to music. I was listening to a guy named Niels Fromm, who's like this kind of classical meets electronic ambient music, and I was just praying the Psalms, and I can't explain it. I just felt like I was somewhere else, just for a brief moment.
Right.
And then when I opened my eyes, it was like everything just felt realer than real to me. Just my bookshelf, my records, everything in my home office I was looking at just were alive. And it was just in this brief moment, like maybe 5-6 minutes of praying, but it just felt like, I don't know, it felt like I was, I don't know where, but it felt like I was somewhere else. And then I was back.
Was it positive?
1,000%. I felt. I mean, it just was. It was just a very moving, beautiful moment where I just felt so close to my Creator, and that's not really a typical experience for me.
Yeah.
I pray a lot, and I do devotions and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, that just was something different. And I don't know if I just was open to something different there, or
I think there is. I think you're totally right. What you're doing too is, the scriptures talk a lot about being filled with God's word and spirit. And to do that, you have to pull away and just focus in on reading the Bible, on prayer, and you really do.
It just felt like I kind of unplugged from this thing and plugged into that thing.
But I think as believers, it's I know it doesn't happen for everyone, but it's a little strange if nobody...
It should be more.
Yeah. If nobody has any experience at all.
Thank you. That's exactly what I felt.
Like, I read the Bible and I'm like,
I know.
What's going on here?
Right afterwards, I was like, oh, I would like more of that.
Yeah.
I heard a minister talk about in their denomination, one of their pastors came out and said he had experienced an angel that appeared to him.
Yeah.
And talked to him about some stuff and given him direction, which is scriptural, by the way. We just talked about it. And it just created an uproar in the denomination, in the church. So they came together, the council that was in this denomination, to see whether or not they're going to kick him out.
Yeah.
Because this man's saying, he said, but he's a good guy, normal guy, but I don't know if we can handle this stuff. One of our own, somebody's seeing an angel in modern times.
It's either true or it's not.
So the main guy, the leader, said, I'm going to do a study on angels, and then I will get back to you. Mm-hmm. We'll make our decision after I need to look at this again. So anyways, he did this deep dive search study in the scriptures about angels, and he came back, and this was his testimony. We're not going to let him go. We're going to keep him. He says, I'm surprised we're not seeing angels more.
Wow.
After he said it was more common than he thought. Actual angel experience. Mm-hmm. Paul talked about he had 2, 3, 4 times where it happened. And I'm not saying we should be seeking this over God. Mm-hmm. These things, because people have seen stuff and it's not the right thing. Mm-hmm. They go to seeking or fasting too much, and they get extreme, and they'll show up.
Yeah, well, all this stuff we talked about, where it's.
But there is the right, and he said we should be. There should be more of this happening, not less.
Yeah, it's either true or it's not, right?
Right.
And like we talk a lot here at Life Point about Kenneth Hagin. Mm-hmm. I mean, he just matter of fact, I was hanging out with Jesus in the rafters of this building.
Right. Yeah.
Like, okay.
But he qualifies it. I mean, he has the respect too, and plus he'll say too, you don't have to believe these things. Back it up with the Word of God. Make sure it's in line. But yeah.
But he believes that happened.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean the
Lord told him he could start sharing it, and he keeps it as normal as possible.
Yeah.
But it's also part of the calling as a prophet.
It's tough because it opens a door for, it's like people come out of the woodwork with this kind of stuff.
I've been talking to the Lord too, though, about a second wave quote, because I know I grew up in a movement, a wave of the Lord, charismatic movement that it's called, and it has its dates on it now. But and there really is a good thing there. Hmm. Especially if you have a little bit more maturity to handle it. I think part of it was that time that was kind of in the atmosphere, the experience part, word and spirit. Yeah. So you can go too far one way, and then you can go to just totally dead the other way. There is a middle of the road, and that's just what I've been seeking the Lord about, that, the middle of the road. And why not? Because you could just speak, man, and it was the easiest thing in the world at that time for people just to receive and experience and to come forward. I mean, this was happening.
It seems to me that this dreams thing is a way God's moving right now.
Yeah.
It seems pretty obvious across our planet.
Yeah, if people are hungry and seeking, it's there.
Yeah.
Like I just said, I mean, if you just Google Muslims seeing Jesus in dreams, there's report after report after report. And then even like with us, you two just talked about some experiences as well. And we're living in a time too, I think it's needed, the other side, the word and spirit experience part, because man, you talk about distracted.
I was getting ready to say, I think part of it too is just finding a way to tune out.
Remember I
The
said
noise
Sunday,
and distraction and-
tell your neighbor, get off your phone. Because I was out in it's just been awesome this year. Reggie and I have been doing a lot more outdoor walking, hiking, and it's fantastic. I know Keith Moore, he'll say, if you want to understand God, don't go get into a dusty old theology book. Go out and look up.
Yeah, I was driving
Go
in
out
the
and look
car
up.
the other day, and it's fall, and it's just unreal.
The colors.
Yeah.
And I was
Amazing.
telling my daughter Indy, I said, Indy, that's why I believe in God, right
Yeah,
there.
it's cool.
We
The
were
painter.
driving. It's just too much.
It's way too much.
Come on, this is like surreal, overwhelming beauty,
And he knows you're going to go, ooh.
and it's just like,
And you're not doing it because of the creation. You really are. People that do it, even an atheist goes, wow, he's doing it because of the painter,
yeah,
not the painting.
yeah. And I'd say there's two things for me that
That's dreams like too.
draws me to
Yeah.
faith. One of them's beauty, and one of them's brutality. It's those two.
That's that too. You got
It's the
it.
beauty
It's so
and the
funny
evil.
you say that. One of the things I love so much about fall, I had the same thing yesterday, Jason. I was driving, I forget where, and it was just jaw-dropping, just the colors and the leaves. But I love fall too because it's they're dying.
Yeah.
It's a dying to new life.
Yeah.
Come spring, there's this weird cyclical beauty to that too.
Yeah.
And it's very scriptural. I mean, it's literally what we do in Christ, We're crucified with him and we share that resurrection life as well. And
Let
this
the
is a
seed
beautiful
die
thing.
and be planted.
But it is. You
There's
just
no
look outside
harvest.
right now and it's like, wow, the golds and the
color
oranges and the...
scheme.
Oh, man.
I'm telling you, we were in the woods the other day, and Reggie and I, the way the sun all of a sudden hit just right within the woods, looking out, not outside of it, but inside, there was a glow
Yeah.
that came through the colors, and we both went. She's like, take a picture. You got to take a picture. You got to take a picture.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be.
It's hard to
kind
capture. I tried. I
But
did
when
my
you're
best,
in it, when
but
you're
it's
in
hard
the
on-
woods
to give
under the
camera.
canopy,
Yeah.
I mean, it is
That's
unreal.
where we were, yeah.
Unreal.
It was shining through just right. And then we were at a place where there was just yellow leaves, and it was like gold.
Right.
It was literally like liquid gold was
In the
pouring
sky.
down through on top of us.
Yeah.
And
That's I mean, if you're open.
that should wake us up.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, that's a dream quote. That's a vision. And what we mean by that is God is reaching out.
Yeah.
He's really, in his mercy and love, he's reaching out, because it still comes down to believing, like we keep saying. It's almost like he wishes he could just show up and say, hey, I'm real, and then leave, real quick.
Yeah.
Like shake the planet real quick and look up, and he waves and then goes away. But he can't. I'm convinced of the whole thing. I call it real world rules.
Well, here's
That
the deal.
he can't cross certain lines or it's not real.
But I think even like with the
And he
dream
plays with it.
the dream that I had, or that other people have, or like Paul, the experience he had, there's a certain responsibility that comes with it,
Yes.
which is different.
Yeah, that's what Brother Hagen
When
said.
you know that something happened now,
Yeah.
that's a different level.
You
of,
own that.
You like
Yeah.
clearly are rejecting now
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
receiving,
Because that's what
and
I'm saying.
it's like that's a totally
It's a
different.
different deal.
It's not just I'm confused. It's all blurry. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like
That's what you were saying, Brother Hagen, seeing the Lord. He said, trust me, you don't want what comes with it.
yeah.
Because there's times where the Lord caught back up with him and said, what are you going to do about what I told you to do? And he's like, well, because you clearly was told.
Yeah.
No, not just a witness. I mean, a manifestation. You were told this direction, and you're not. What's up with that?
Yeah, and Jesus seemed to talk that way
He was that way, man.
to people. There were miracles and stuff. He's
He was
like,
that way.
you're going to have to answer for what you just saw.
Let the dead bury
Because
the
other
dead.
people believed and they didn't see any of this
He
stuff.
gave a couple woes out
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah,
Woe to you.
I'll follow you, but nah, you're not ready. With that, he's pretty clear cut.
Yeah.
With that, merciful. All right, man, that's good. That's a good start. with where we are.
Yeah, to be continued with
and where we're headed.
With
That's
Pastor Katrina.
Really good foundation.
Tune back in for that.
What do we have? You got some
with Katrina. Yeah, and also just a reminder, if you're checking us out on YouTube or Apple or Spotify, to hit that subscribe button so you're in the loop on all things Revelation Now. We want to stay tethered together because we're just getting going and really, really enjoying talking about these things that are just kind of in the consciousness of our world today, and just walking through it together and having fun while we do it. So subscribe, stick with us, and we'll see you next time.